Now, this session seeks to explore language and as one of the most consequential frontiers in India's digital journey. It aims to examine how building for Bharat will require far more than translation, demanding products, platforms, and intelligence that are rooted in context, culture, and the realities of everyday India. It's now time to welcome on stage our guest, Mr. Ankush Sabharwal, founder and CEO of CoRover.ai, to please come forward. Ms. Devyani Gupta, founder of Arrowhead, and the moderator for this session, Mr. Ashutosh Kumar, Deputy Editor and Chief of Delhi Bureau, Fortune India. Please put your hands together, everybody, for the three of them. Now, this session is on Bharat-led innovation.
Thanks, Ankush and Devyani, for this panel, for being on this panel. But to begin with this conversation, I'd like to first come to the audience with a question. Any guess or an estimate as to how much does the rural India, the internet users in the rural India account for in the total internet user base? Any guesses, any wild guess from anyone? Sorry? 60%, that's very close. So according to data, the internet users in the rural India account for 57% of the entire base of internet users. Now, that actually brings us to the core thesis of this particular panel. And when we talk about the hinterlands, it is quite understandable that a digital divide has to be bridged. And that is happening, ladies and gentlemen, through this whole language tech innovation. And coming to our panelists now, I'd like to ask, the first thing that I would like to ask our panelists is, how meaningful digital inclusion is a major opportunity for the AI innovators. Ankush, with you first.
I think opportunity, I might not answer that, but there's a huge need to solve the problems of the society, and there were few problems which we kind of were living with and we had already made terms with, and we were thinking we would never be able to solve.
Right.
I think now we got a genie called AI, and so I'm not saying force fit the AI solutions on the people, but study more, know more. You rightly said Bharat, know Bharat, right? So you cannot be in India and try to solve Bharat. You need to live that life, and then you figure out what's a life, what's a problem they're facing, and probably not only just the problem, maybe some opportunities for them. Right? If we see the problems for them, opportunities for them, and then you see the innovators, so-called, the technologies, so-called, and see, can you add value with whatever you know or your team knows or whatever work you have done so far or whatever the platform you created with AI or without AI. But I think there's a huge need, someone like us, to intervene and solve the problem of the society.
Right. Devyani, coming to you, I mean, is it an opportunity for the innovators, or you also feel that, we can start the journey from value addition and see what unfolds?
Yeah, so if you look at India, there are about 900 million people in India who are online. Out of that, only 5 to 10% of people actually know English.
Right.
Which means we have 800 million plus people who are online but don't know English as a language, right? And these are like your farmers, your rural workers, et cetera, et cetera. And so being able to speak in their language is not about reaching them. It's actually about just providing them with the agency to access basic needs such as like healthcare, government schemes, credit schemes, et cetera, et cetera. And in India today, so much of trust is actually built on phone calls. And so, I mean, we build voice AI bots, right? And interestingly, even for very low ticket size items like motor insurance, people will still get on a call to buy motor insurance. not self-serve, just on the app, right? And what that means is that as a company, you're actually leaving a lot of revenue on the table if you are not able to speak in that customer's language where you're not able to actually reach them.
Right.
So this is, I mean, for both consumers to have agency, but companies to have expanded market share, they have to be able to speak in the customer's language. And now with the cost of this in the post-LLM era reducing significantly, it's actually achievable to do that.
Right. So what I'd also like to ask about is what are the, I mean, the translation is fine, the interface, language as an interface is fine between the customer and between the companies, but what are the next big frontiers really when it comes to language tech, so to say, Ankush?
Yeah, so I think she rightly said, I think those are very low-hanging stuff. We
Correct,
know
correct.
where we can come and we understand the problem and bridge the solution probably
Right.
in days and hours.
Right.
But now coming to the opportunity. I
Yeah.
think now I see an opportunity where we just do not solve that specific problem for one use case or one enterprise.
Right.
Of course, we do for business, but I think that's an opportunity for everyone. So now we have the platforms. So let me not say talk about our platform. Just talk about say Anthropic, right? There are so many other no-code platforms.
Right.
People can now just create voice agents just by speaking, right? So it is become so easy for everyone to create solutions. Now the technology creation is not just with the few of us, right? So I might be probably whatever statement I'm making, it's kind of conflict of interest to me, but I think that's an opportunity for everyone, but just to be the users. I think
Right.
we all should really think about as the creator, because the problems are so many. So now let's talk about the enterprises. So many enterprises, so many domains, so many use cases. 1, 2, 3, even 10 companies are not enough.
Right.
And I think if we enable other companies, other developers, other professionals who are not even developers. Now, as we all know, English has become the programming language.
Correct.
So, but are we really leveraging that? I doubt. So I think maybe the people who have started like us early, so how do we enable others to solve the problem? Now, I'm sure we would have something in it to really help society in that way.
Right. Devyani, you agree to it because you mentioned some of the sectors which can truly benefit for this whole thing. You mentioned about healthcare, you mentioned about others, but when we talk in terms of education, when we talk in terms of pan sectors, what could be the next frontiers? Very quickly.
I think one of the biggest industries that's going to benefit from this is actually education.
Yeah.
Because today you have about 300 million people in India from K-12 and secondary, right? And today when they study, they have English textbooks that have been directly translated into, let's say, Hindi, right? So someone who's a student in Bihar is reading a textbook that's been directly translated, but all the context is still based on American context.
Right.
Right? So it's not relatable for the people actually reading it. Now in the post-LLM era, it's not just about translation, like you were mentioning, Ashutosh. It's also about can we contextualize it to the person that we're talking to in their world and in their language, of course, so that they are able to comprehend the information much better. And there are multiple studies that have shown that if someone is able to learn in their language, that's their first language, they perform significantly better in life later on than people who learned in their second language.
Right.
And that's what we have to start enabling
Right.
people in India to.
Right, point taken. But over here, I'd also like to talk about the challenges. While opportunities are there, but how much of this lack of digital corpora is indeed a challenge? Even when we are talking about in terms of post LLM and era, but still, is digital corpora a problem, a challenge area which needs to be overcome for the next phase of this whole thing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't see any challenge. See, yes, much talked about we don't have data, but what do you need data for? If you're making a trillion parameter model, yes, you need data. But if you have to solve a specific problem, right? Maybe for insurance, maybe for train ticket booking, or maybe for someone to uh, uh, book a car service appointment. So let's pick up say car service appointment. What do you talk? How many things you talk? Maybe 4, 5, 10 things. And let me tell you, say IRCTC, we get around 2.5 million users every day. If I see the dashboard, there are only 10 intents. They have to book, they have to cancel,
Yeah.
they have to change this boarding station, check the refund and all that. Only 10 things. If someone has to test it, they will fail because they'll ask something which is very, very fancy. Even if I have to test it, I'll fail the system.
Right, right.
But for the genuine user, it works. So I think if we pick the right problem to solve, there's no challenge of data because unless you're saying, hey, I'm starting a company which is say for car servicing. I have never done car servicing. So
Right.
I'll say I'll do car servicing. I'll learn about the domain. I'll do AI. Very difficult, right? So since we are AI company, I'm sure we are not doing our hands dirty there, right? You have to work with the people who already know the domain. They have the data already.
Right.
Absolutely, there is no challenge. It's just about adoption.
Right,
Someone
right.
has to really think about that problem, articulate the problem. I think where we are successful, as you know, right? To name any company, there would be our customer, whether it's Tata, Reliance, and IRCTC, LIC, NPCI, all of them. But wherever we were successful not because we had the platform, really. So we were successful because people were ready to talk to us,
Right,
help
right.
us understand what is their purpose,
Correct.
what are their objectives, what are their KRAs.
Right.
And then we didn't talk about what the platform we have. He said, hey, we will build the solution. And that is up to us to use the platform or not. The platform is an enabler for us to help them achieve the purpose.
Right.
So yeah, there is no challenge as long as we work with the people who know their domain, who articulate the problem, ready to get the solution.
Great,
Then
great,
there is no
great.
problem in the
So,
data.
do you also agree, Devyani, to this, or would you differ?
I actually somewhat disagree with that. I appreciate the point of view. I think somewhat disagree because, so today, for instance, at Arrowhead, we're actually building our own fine-tuned models in different languages, right? And if you look at like the LLMs that exist today, for English, there are trillions of tokens
Right.
that are high-quality tokens available for LLMs.
That's what I was coming to. When
Yeah.
I talked about the digital corpora, that's what I was actually
and then
referring to.
if you look at
Yeah.
Hindi is actually extremely accurate today in LLMs, but the corpus is still significantly lower. So you have in the tens of billions. But for your regional languages, you have in the single-digit billions.
Correct.
Meaning that's like a magnitude of 4 to 5x for for Hindi versus these regional languages. So today, when we're training our models at Arrowhead, we actually are working with agencies to get thousands and thousands of hours of speech calls from from very local Malayali speakers to be able to train our models because they just don't exist.
Right.
I agree that I don't think it needs to be a problem. I think it's a very solvable issue. But just like UPI was more of a national initiative, I think developing this corpus of data also needs to be a national initiative.
Right,
So it
right,
needs to
right.
involve policy, it needs to involve the government, and leaving it up to startups to do that is going to be inefficient and slow.
Right. On that note, thanks a lot for this wonderful conversation, Ankush and Devyani, and thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Sir. Thank
Thank you very much for that insightful session. Ashutosh, we'd like you to please present a token of appreciation to our panelists. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a very insightful and a very interesting session on Bharat-led innovation. Thank you very much once again.